Jack, you missed a few things in my intro. There was a two-part Star Trek Voyager in 1997. Oh, goodness, here we go. When I first saw Tig do stand-up, it was many years ago in a tiny club in the East Village. She told a simple story, a story she had heard about a man who went to the hospital with a light bulb in his asshole. Tig is not a blue comedian. None of that setup was a part of the comedy. She isn't blue by nature. It was this. The joke was about this earnest wonder and this honest examination of how this man processed thought. And it was amazing, and it was about 10 minutes long, and I was in awe. I am in constant awe at how many angles she goes at a joke. And just when you think she's explored every single possible side of something and your stomach hurts from laughing, she blows your mind with yet another perspective, and then you die laughing while your mind is just being turned inside out. She is an unparalleled force, and she comes in this teeny, teeny, tiny package. We used to do laundry together on Sweetser in Third at the washing machine. Oh. And the washing was done, so I was putting her laundry into the dryer, and I was just looking at these tiny plaid shirts. And I was like, if I didn't know you, I would think I was doing the laundry of a tiny lumberjack. But it was this woman, Tig. When Tig was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was after an already heinous and tragic few months, which you can see in the documentary about her called Tig that's coming out in August and on Netflix. She has a special out now on Showtime called Knock Knock, It's Tig Notaro, which I've seen twice and is incredible. And she's got this HBO special coming out. She's unstoppable. And trust me, just about every force of nature has tried to stop her. I don't know how much one person can take, and that was what we just kept thinking in those 4 months. When she showed up to the hospital to get her double mastectomy, is that private, or can I tell people that? I just felt weird suddenly saying it, because it's like has to do with your boobs. But word got out. She didn't have a lot to begin with, and when I actually got to the hospital before you. I got to the hospital before her, and when she came in, I said, "Did you do it already?" And she was like, "No." She had this surgery. It was so weird how huge it was and how fast it was. I mean, for me, I went out, I did some errands, and I came back, and it was over. I'm sure it seemed longer for you, but a whole bunch of comics were in her when she was recovering after. It was just a whole big room of comedians who love her and her friends, and she was out of it, and she was recuperating, and she couldn't talk much, and she was just happy to have us kind of around, right? And telling jokes and doing bits and just being there. And I remember Natasha Leggero, who's a very funny comedian, came in a whirl, after everyone had already been there for a while, and she was so verklempt. Is that the word? She was just kind of like, oh! She felt terrible that she was late. I mean, there was no late, but she just had gotten there much later than she planned. And she was like, oh, God, I just couldn't get here, and the traffic was so bad. And she just went on. And then Tig just quietly listened, and then when she stopped, she went, I know what you mean. I just had my whole chest cavity removed. Put things in perspective. She is brilliant. I'm talking about Natasha. No, she is too, but I'm talking about Tig, of course. Tig is brilliant, and her audience is everybody, which is very rare. She she can kill just as hard with a room of frat boys as she does with, us This American Lifers. She's accessible to all, and not by being the lowest common denominator, but by raising us up to where she's looking at the world from and proving that we are actually all really the same. She gets the most amount of laughs with the least amount of words, which is really rare. Whose phone is ringing? I know, I'd be horrified too. It's not your fault. It happened to anyone. It's not important anyway. You know what? Take the call. Let's see who it is. I always say that she gets the most amount of laughs with the least amount of words, which is incredible. I've never seen anybody do that, and it's really true. As both a comedian and a human being, she is astounding, she is singular, and she's undeniable. So please help me welcome Tig Notaro.
Sarah Silverman. Sarah, I love you.
I love you too.
And I appreciate you. That's all I prepared. Thank you, cancer support community, as well. My one suggestion is that you add another word to signify specifically what you do. It is a great title. It's a great name. You know exactly what they do. Make no mistake, it is a cancer support community. I feel like I never got a full laugh for that, and it just dissipated as people were like, This is such a great honor, and I have to start out by saying that every single day that I am alive and breathing is a very special day for me. And so, obviously, getting this award is extra special for me. And I'm sure, everybody has talked about what I went through, not just being diagnosed, but having just blow after blow. 4 months of my life, it just was utter hell. And people have spoken about that, and it was brutal. But what you may not be aware of, since then, I just want to share that I have since somehow found the utter love of my life that, yes, it is true, that I cannot wait to marry. Yes, and all the while being supported by every single friend and family member of mine, from here all the way to my tiny town in Mississippi. It's a whole different world for me right now, because I not only have Stephanie, but we have somehow found the most beautiful, amazing, peaceful home to live in, and every critter in town lives in our backyard. And every step we take, we're moving towards building a family together. And I feel it's so important to let people know where I've gotten to since then, and that things are so tremendous. And getting news of this award came at such an odd but appropriate time. My mother passed away during that time of just before my diagnosis, and all of her things were shipped to my house about a year ago. And going through all of her things, it's been bittersweet and a very slow process, about a box a month or so. And I came across one of my mother's books in the process, and It's Always Something by Gilda Radner. And as I'm sure most of you know, it's the book Gilda wrote as she was dying. And I remember giving the book to my mother for Christmas one year, because you really simply could not find a bigger Gilda Radner fan than my mother. And our love for Gilda, her comedy was something we shared, and we would watch together, SNL, all her sketches, and just adored her throughout my early childhood. And as I stared at the book, I thought about how crazy it was that when I gave my mother that book, that there was no possible way we would know that I would end up having cancer, and that she wouldn't ultimately be around when I did. And I opened the book and saw my mother's handwriting on the other side of the cover, from Tig, Christmas, 1998. She dated everything. And there was something so eerie about this time capsule of sorts. And I took it down to my bedroom, and I read it every night before I went to sleep. And the entire book became yet another reminder of how I somehow cheated death, and not everyone is so lucky. And yet, as lucky as I've been, I've also been told that if my cancer returns, it's not curable. And when I think about how my mother had no idea that she was going to die in an accident, it gave me this odd comfort in being reminded that we never know how life will twist and turn, or when it will end, or how it will flourish even. We don't know anything. And part of my luck is not just hearing that I will soon be 3 years with no evidence of disease, but thank you. But my luck is most importantly that I'm relentlessly hopeful. And although Gilda didn't make it through her fight, I couldn't help but be utterly struck by how determined she was. And you always hear about that sort of thing, the determination. And it's real, and at times very difficult, obviously, in all of the darkness. And it was haunting to read a book where you know the author doesn't make it, but with each hurdle, she believed she was going to make it. Reading the details of her struggles and how seemingly effortlessly she got up each time, and with endless hope, was something I felt and related to so deeply in my bones. there was such a full circle feeling with that book ending up back in my hands a couple of months ago, roughly 15 years after giving it to my mother, and now being presented with this award. It's truly something else. And if the idea behind the award is to carry on Gilda's spirit of hope and comedy, I seem to be off to a pretty bad start. As far as the comedy goes tonight. I was telling Sarah and Stephanie when we were just eating that comedy is such a, I'm so lucky that I have that to express myself and to get through things, but I also, it's best when it happens naturally, and I'm just so earnestly happy and content and in such a great place and aware of what I have, and I wanted to express just that earnest feeling that I feel, and to say that yes, I went through all sorts of things that wouldn't stop, but I am in such a great place, and like I said, I wanted to express that very earnestly. And one of my favorite sayings that I don't really know exactly how it goes, but it is my favorite. Make no mistake, it's words I live by. It goes something like, the best gift that you can give somebody is a well-lived life of your own. And I hope that through earnestly and fully living the most honest life possible, I will continue to live a life worthy of this honor of recognition. I want to do good, I want to be good, I want to feel good. I don't have any time for anything less. And really nobody has time for anything less than that. And I really, really appreciate being given this award tonight. So thank you so much.